Hi everyone, this is Mai. Welcome to my Chinese class. Well, I have this idea of making a series of videos on how to learn Chinese, and now you're watching the very first one. This time I'm not going to teach you any real Chinese. Instead, I will try to present you why you should learn Chinese and what my Chinese class is about. To start with, let's discuss why you should learn Chinese. Well, my first point is learn Chinese because it's useful. Well, we all know that China is growing these days, and it's growing insanely fast. So if you want to do business with China or in China, it is highly recommended to learn Chinese. And secondly, we have great culture. That's more than 2,000 years of human history. You might have heard of Confucius, Taoism, Tang poetry, Great Wall, even Bruce Lee. So if you are interested in these things, it's useful to learn Chinese too. And last but not least, there are more than 1.4 billion Chinese people on this planet, so your chance of running into them is pretty high. So if you want to make friends with Chinese people, especially those cute girls, I will recommend you to learn Chinese. So to sum up, my first point is learn Chinese because it's useful. Now I want to turn to the language itself. For me, Chinese is extremely beautiful. I'm not talking about literature or poetry, I mean the language itself. You might know that Chinese is special in the case of writing. Unlike, let's say, European languages, which are based on letters, Chinese is mostly like drawing. Some 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, ancient Chinese people started describing the nature by drawing. And as time goes by, this drawing evolved into modern Chinese. But Chinese is more than just drawing. There's logic inside the language. For example, this character means tree or wood. And if we put two trees together, they give us this character, which means forest. And if we put three trees all together, that would just be a bigger forest, right? So this character can also be used to mean something so exuberant, but there's nothing like four trees. So Chinese writing is actually like a very concise drawing, and sometimes you just know the meaning of the word by looking at it. For example, this character has two parts. The upper part means the action of enter or go inside, and the lower part means water. So if we put these two parts together, it just means go inside the water. So it's actually used mean the technique of boil the food for a while. So my second point is that learn Chinese because it's so beautiful. I know many people say Chinese is the most difficult language in the world, but I'm going to tell you that it is really easy in the case of grammar. When I learned French, I really hate this big table of conjugation and time tense. When I try to learn German, there's this huge table of cases and articles. And seriously, why do you have to divide things into feminine, masculine, or even neutral? It just doesn't make sense. And when I try to learn Japanese, there's this respect form or casual form, so I hate Japanese grammar too. But don't worry, when you learn Chinese, you won't have this phase because we don't have such things in Chinese. No conjugation, no time tense, no gender, no cases, no articles, no nothing. Chinese grammar is really easy, so you don't have to spend time in memorizing boring grammar rules. Use your time well in learning the beautiful language. Well, apart from grammar, I have to say that Chinese is a difficult language, especially in the case of pronunciation. You might have heard that there are 4 intonations in Chinese. For example, ma, 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 ma. I know it might sound the same to you, but seriously, they are different. Maybe it's difficult for you in the beginning to really distinguish the subtle difference, but just keep trying. It might come to you someday. But actually, for me, this is the real fun part of Chinese because you can play with the words. I will use this pronunciation as example. This pronunciation with 4 intonations give 4 different sounds. Shi, 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 shi. and each sound corresponds to a number of words. So this is the tricky part of Chinese. You can't really tell the word from the pronunciation because just one pronunciation can mean different things. That is why you have to learn the writing, because that's what makes a word special. So here comes this passage. You will know why it's fun when you hear it. 诗是事诗，事实实施，事实实事是事诗，实时事实诗是事，事实是诗是事事，是是是实诗，是史是，史是实诗是事。So this is the passage, composed of the words with the same pronunciation base but different intonation, and it actually makes sense. It means some guy named Shi who likes lion and who wants to eat 10 lions. So someday he went to the market, he bought those 10 lions and he took them to a stone-built room, blah blah blah. So as I said, it's really fun to play with words if you just change the intonation. A widely spread example is this phrase. If you pronounce in this way, it's actually the F word in Chinese. But if you change the intonation a little bit, it's actually this cute little animal here. So these days, young Chinese people just use this cute little animal to insult less intensely. So somehow, if your Chinese friend sends you this picture, be aware. Until this point, I have presented you the reasons I think why you should learn Chinese. Because it's useful, it's beautiful, it's easy, and it's so much fun. So just learn it. Well, if you are somewhat convinced to learn Chinese, another question is why you should be watching My Chinese class videos. Well, the reason is really simple. Because it's awesome. What up? Speaking of My Chinese class, who should be watching these videos? Well, either you are a beginner in learning Chinese and you find it difficult, or you are interested in China and Chinese culture and you want to learn Chinese but you don't know where to start, or you might travel to China in the future and you want some practical information on the language. Anyway, I think it will be fun to watch. In the last part of this video, I will introduce to you how my Chinese class will be organized. Since Chinese is so special, I will have to start with the fundamentals like the pronunciation rules and writing skills. So, as for pronunciation, like other languages, there are consonants, vowels, and especially intonation. As for writing, I will start with the building blocks of Chinese characters, and then gradually I will teach you how to write or draw in Chinese. With this fundamental knowledge, we can finally start learning real Chinese. I think you are most interested in Chinese in daily life, so I will give videos on ordering, talking about weather, asking for direction, or counting, etc. Well, my plan is to spend like 5 videos on the fundamental, and I don't know how many on the real Chinese. That depends on how you will like it and how we'll manage to produce more. And in order to keep my Chinese class going, I have requirements for you too. I want you to be open-minded and don't just give up easily. Chinese is different, it's special, it's hard, but if 1.4 billion people on this planet can manage it, why can't you? Now this brings me to the end of this video. I would like to share with you this quote by ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That is, to watch my next video, My Chinese Class 01. Thank you for watching this video. 再见. See you next time.